I would never have called myself a sporty child. I did always want to have that feeling of endorphins, like there's just no feeling like it. And obviously, I feel when you've done a bit of exercise, your day just seems to be a bit better. I'd say, get out of your head. It's easier said than done, but just don't overthink it. Turn up. Don't look around and see who, and don't compare. Like, you're on your journey, you're on your path, and let go of the ego. That was what I'd say, definitely. I remember my first day, I turned up to the swimming and I did it, and I left. I was in the change room, I was having a bit of a meltdown, and I was like, I don't know if I can return to this. The main goal is to finish the event safe, and actually finish it. But yeah, I guess I have put a little bit of pressure on myself. I am trying to go as quick as I can, really, but again, it's just safety and completing it for me, and also seeing my friends on the journey complete it.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by newbie tri-star Sharn Le Masurier. How are you doing today, Sharn?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to share my story.
Good stuff. As always, I kind of start with the question to all my guests. Have you always been sporty since a young age?
So I would never have called myself a sporty child. I did used to play a little bit of netball at school, but I was so accident prone. So I used to sprain my ankle quite a lot, which unfortunately I had to stop. And then as I went to secondary, I just didn't really enjoy participating in PE. I think things like my insecurities and confidence kind of got the better of me, which is a bit of a shame, because I wish, looking back on my life, if I knew what I knew now, I wish I kind of got a bit more involved as a youngster. And I think it's a great way to meet new people, and obviously it's got lots of mental and physical benefits. So yeah, it's been a bit of an eye-opener for me. So as I reached my 20s, I started to realise the benefits, and that's when I started to go to the gym a bit. And as I got to my mid-20s, I started to run a little bit, and I always knew that I wanted to be a bit of a long distance runner. I was very inspired by people around me, and unfortunately I ended up kind of dropping off, and I didn't really continue with it for a couple of years. But it's been really great because I've picked it back up, and I've actually managed to get myself further than I ever dreamed of or thought that I could. So yeah, it's been a really good journey.
Yeah. How much did you miss it when you mentioned you stopped there for a bit? How much did you miss and obviously you started again? What made you start again as well?
So I knew when I wasn't being active for a couple of years that I did always want to have that feeling of endorphins, like there's just no feeling like it. And obviously, I feel when you've done a bit of exercise, your day just seems to be a bit better. And yeah, I always knew that I wanted to get back into it, but I guess my confidence, again, it kind of didn't allow me to get back out there. I'd put on a bit of weight, and I was just like not really feeling myself. And yeah, I kind of probably don't really have like the people around me to like push me a little bit. And then it got to 2021. Obviously, we'd come out of the pandemic, and my stepmom was actually a really big influence, and she got me back into running. She welcomed me into her running group, and yeah, she's been a massive support on my journey.
Yeah. Do you remember your very first run when you came back into it? How was that, and did you enjoy it, or was it tough?
Yeah, I remember. So my stepmom, she was running and she was doing really well. She'd been on her journey for a little bit, and I remember my first run back, and I thought, what am I doing? It was really hard, and I guess it was a bit of a shock to the body, but I knew that to get back into it, I had to start being consistent again. So I think I managed like a 3K, and I just remember that feeling afterwards, and I thought, oh, I feel really good, and this is what I want to get back into. But yeah, it's just consistency. I had to keep pushing through, keep going. no matter how much, your body hurts a little bit to start with, or like mentally it's a bit of a challenge, but once you start breaking that down, it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously you took part in your first race, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about what you were doing job-wise beforehand as well, and being around the events, and how rewarding was that, just not taking part, but the seeing everyone else take part and knowing that you were part of putting it on.
Yeah, so I worked 5 years in events and local events, and stood on the sidelines for a very long time, was behind the welcome desk, there with the stopwatch on the start and finish line. And I just always remember the energy. It was just like, I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it. And I've watched so many people that each year come back and take on races and challenges, and they've pushed themselves so much. And I just always had that in me that I wanted to kind of do the same. And just seeing the emotion of people completing challenges that you can see that they've trained hard for, it's just been absolutely incredible, and it's been so inspiring. And I guess that's why I've ended up on my own journey, because I was around these like really high performing, high energy people, and it's been really big influence on my journey.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about the first event slash race that you took part in. What was it? And do you remember, were you nervous beforehand or were you excited?
So I guess with Sharn, it's very all or nothing. So I didn't start off like maybe with a 5K. I put myself straight into a half marathon, which looking back, I'm not really sure that was the best idea. Maybe should have started off a bit smaller so I knew what to expect. But yeah, I trained really hard for the hospice to hospice half marathon last year. And I remember on the day I felt good because I'd put a lot of training in and I was consistent, and I had so much support around me, and it was really lovely that I did with my stepmom. But I remember that feeling when I finished, and honestly, I just wish I could capture it in a bottle and give it to everyone, because there is just no feeling like it when you've completed something that you've worked really hard for. And I always dreamed of doing a half marathon. To tick that off your bucket list has just been like amazing.
Yeah. Just describe that feeling when you did finish and you went over the finishing line and all those people were cheering, and I know it myself, but how good is that feeling when you do finish a race?
I guess it's just like euphoric. You've got so many people around you that I've looked to for years and thought they're incredible, they're amazing, and here I am on the same course, completing it, going through the same finish line. Not necessarily at the front of the race, but it's slightly at the back, and I think that's fine. Everybody starts somewhere, and don't let your confidence get the better of you by being nervous about being at the back. I remember the night before, I was really nervous, and I was thinking, oh, I just really don't want to finish last. But do you know what? Like, knowing what I know now, it doesn't matter. Everyone's on their own page. It doesn't matter if you're at the back, if you're at the front, or you're in the middle. Everyone's on their own journey, and as long as you're achieving your goals, then I think you can say that you've done a good job, really.
Yeah, how important is that for? Well, I was going to touch on it a bit later, but I'll touch on it now. Any newbies that might be worried about entering races, entering events, or any sort of running, and how important is that mind frame to think it's your own race, ignore everyone else, they're enjoying their own race as well. They're not worried about you, kind of thing. How important is that mind frame?
Yeah, I'd say the mindset is a really big part of the journey. I'd say for anyone who's looking to who's wanted to take on a challenge, but I've been the same. I've held myself back for so many years because I just didn't have that confidence. And I'd say, get out of your head. It's easier said than done, but just don't overthink it. Turn up. Don't look around and see who, and don't compare. Like, you're on your journey, you're on your path, and don't let go of the ego. That's what I'd say, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. What's been your favorite event that you've done running wise so far?
I think I've had a lot of highlights. It's actually a bit hard to choose, but Durrell Challenge was a good one because it was quite hilly, and I think out of everything, mentally, that was a really big challenge for me. There was, every time you turn a corner, there'd be another hill. And it was just such a great atmosphere. And obviously I was involved with the organisation of that a few years ago, and I just think to be part of the organising team and then come back and be able to do the challenge yourself, it was just like really special to me. And it's obviously a very special charity, so yeah, it was an honour to take part.
Yeah, yeah. You've mentioned about confidence to me before and on this podcast so far. How much of a confidence boost is it to take part in these events in any sport really and get out there?
I think every time you set yourself a challenge and you complete it, your confidence starts to grow. And that's what I've noticed of myself. Every time I say I'm going to do something and I do it, that I can just see myself braver. I'm getting more confident to now be doing triathlon. I honestly would not have thought that I would be doing that 3 years ago, and I don't think I would be here if I hadn't done the journey before of like pushing myself a little bit more with the running, getting a little bit more confident. And it's even things like turning up for group training. Like I hold myself back and I think, oh, it's a bit intimidating to turn up. Everybody's been doing it for years. Like it's really hard, like being a bit of a newbie into the circles. But joining something like Try has been like great on the journey because everybody, like I said, is on their own special journey, and you know, everyone's there to achieve something for themselves, and everyone's got a weakness and everyone's got a strength, and it's just been really great to like be part of the journey together and yeah, achieve things that we all probably thought we wouldn't be able to achieve too.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come more on to try in a minute, but I want to touch on learning to swim first, as because in my head, when a lot of people learn to swim is when they're young, they're fearless, you just jump in, you don't know what the consequences could be. But as an adult, I bet it's a whole different ball game to learn to swim. So how did that come about, and how I guess scary were the first few sessions?
Yeah, so growing up, I wasn't a strong swimmer. I didn't actually have swimming lessons as a child. There was some that I went to at school, but I remember they used to be cancelled quite a lot, and our pool at school wasn't too great. But what is great is Jersey Sport is now providing swimming lessons to years 4 and 5 at government of Jersey schools. So children are actually having the opportunity to learn to swim now at a young age. Learning to swim has been hard as an adult because I think there's a bit of a bravado about, you know, like everybody should know how to swim, everybody should have this from a young age. But I think, you know, not everybody has had the luxury to learn to swim as a young child. So yeah, it has been a bit of a mental challenge to push myself out my comfort zone. And I think for me, one of the biggest things was, you know, getting changed and like stepping out in a costume in front of people that I've never met before. That was the first thing before I'd even got into the pool. So I had to break down that barrier. I had to get out of my head and, you know, just walk out there, be confident and just not overthink it. And then obviously going into the pool, I showed my technique so it was through the Move More Jersey Beginners group, and I showed the coaches my swimming. And I remember I am friends actually with one of the coaches, and she said your technique is a bit survival mode. I knew then that minute that I had a long way to go. So yeah, I pushed through, and every week I showed up and I tried as hard as I could, and I just keep pushing myself a bit more. And this was in the children's pool at the Kennedy, and I just remember thinking, I can't imagine being in the adult pool swimming a front crawl. That this was just, it felt like it's completely out of touching distance for me. And I remember the last session I went to, they allowed us to get into the adults pool, and I did it. And I just remember being so proud of myself, and I just could not believe that I had achieved that, because when I started the journey, it was, you know, I think 12 weeks of swimming. I just never thought I'd get to that point. And yeah, like breathing under the water for me has been a big challenge, because I've always had a bit of a thing where I don't like water kind of like going up my nose. So I've had to break down that barrier and just get on with it. But I've learned lots of techniques that help me. And yeah, it's been a really, really cool journey. And so I finished the program, and then I moved into the try swimming. And that was a massive jump up, because I went from, you know, being like gentle swimming lesson to being coach, and you're doing time trials. And I think the biggest thing for me is just mental resilience. I had to keep pushing through, keep showing up every time. And I remember my first day, I turned up to the swimming and I did it, and I left. I was in the change room. I was having a bit of a meltdown, and I was like, I don't know if I can return to this. It was so different to what I was used to, and I went back and I promised myself I'd show up once more and just see if I liked it. And the second time, it got easier. So I think it's consistency. And I remember when I sat in the briefing for the try, and the coach has said just keep showing up, and that is it. Like, no matter how tough you find it, just keep showing up, because it does get easier.
Yeah, amazing journey. Well, I'll come to cycling, but first let's talk. Obviously, swimming, you learn all that indoors, and you've been outdoors recently in open water. How has that experience been? Have you enjoyed that experience?
So again, pool swimming to open water swimming is completely different, and I don't know if I was actually prepared for that. I don't think I really thought about it. I kind of just, I remember the first day I went to my outdoor swim lesson, and I just chucked myself straight in the sea, thinking it's going to be the same like the pool, and it was a bit of a shock. And I was thinking, what am I doing? I don't actually know if I can do this again. Like the mental challenge, but again, I just promised myself, keep going and keep seeing if you can enjoy it. But the first session I went to, I remember I was thinking, I need to make this into a bit of fun. Like, so I just started having a bit of a laugh with the other people in the group, and it just made the experience a bit more enjoyable, because it was a shock, but it was fine. We got through, and yeah, it was all part of the journey.
Yeah,
It gets easier as you keep going, like I say.
yeah, definitely. And let's touch on the cycling as well now. Obviously, it wasn't new, but you'd had a bit of a battle to get back on the bike. Tell us about that, and how was it like when you did eventually get back on and um, get that courage to do so?
Yeah, so in lockdown, I actually bought myself a bike because it was something to do. So I had a few little cycles, but it was kind of a bit along the avenue, up to Corbière, the safe route. And I just remember I always wanted to get on the road, and I looked to cyclists and I think, oh, it's actually a very clever way to actively travel. It's a great way to fit time, exercise into your day. And yeah, so I actually went out with my dad for a cycle a couple of years ago, and I had a bit of an accident. I fell off, it actually did scare me. I was a bit afraid to get back on the bike, so I knew that I had a bit of a mental challenge to get back on there. So yeah, turned up to my first cycling session, and I was very nervous. I reached out to someone that I knew who had done triathlon before, and I'd mentioned to them that I was a bit nervous. So he actually linked me up to some other people in the group. So we created a bit of a WhatsApp group, and then we started that encouragement before we actually got out for the cycle. So it was really great to know that other people were in the same boat. And when we turned up for our first session, they were there, and it just made me feel so much more at ease knowing that I wasn't the only one that was afraid of cycling that day.
Yeah. Let's move on to try. Sorry, and how you mentioned the support. We'll move on to the how the training's going in a minute, but how good has the group been? And you've mentioned it before about the progress, and you're all doing it for different reasons. How good has this support one amongst each other been, kind of thing?
Yeah, so I have to say the support has been incredible. So from the start, really, to where I am now, the coaches have been amazing. They've been like very understanding that we're all on different journeys and different abilities. And what tends to happen sometimes is, for example, the cycling, like the ones that are a bit more advanced, they'll go off and do like maybe a different route, whereas the ones that are maybe a bit more on the beginner's journey, they would look after us and make sure we were comfortable with what we were doing. It was really great because it actually started off with a bit of a briefing up at Strive. So it was a really great way to kind of, scout the room and see where everybody's at and meet the coaches. And then you could ask any questions that you had. So you kind of had that kind of like face-to-face interaction before we'd actually like turned up at the session. So everyone was comfortable. And yeah, I remember some of the questions being asked. It was, people a bit nervous about what was about to happen. And then yeah, throughout she's been really great, like supportive. Like, if you ever have any questions, like the coaches of the day, you can just ask. Like, there's been so much to learn, you know, like things like kit. They've been really helpful, like getting you sorted with your wetsuit, and you know, finding accessories and stuff that you need to be able to complete it, nutrition. um and it's been honestly amazing. I've met the most amazing people that I've probably never meet through life, all different walks of life and backgrounds and ages, abilities. And we actually created a WhatsApp group, and it's honestly amazing, that the encouragement and the support that we have for each other in there. I don't think my journey would have been the same if I hadn't have had the support from this group of people that I've met. And I do actually genuinely believe that we've made really good friends, and I think we will stay in touch, and we will probably still train together. And I think we've been on the journey of the highs and the lows together, and we look back and there's things that we laugh about now, and I'm sure on race day there'll be things that we'll be laughing about. And we're actually planning like a bit of a celebration at the end together. So it has been incredible to meet new people, and the support and encouragement has just been top notch.
Yeah, I think that one point you said is meet new people that you probably never meet because they're from different paths of life and what have you. I think that's one of the best things about sport in general and any event because, for example, what you're doing, white collar boxing as well, any running race, you tend to find someone and you just run with them. You might have never
Yeah.
met them before. And I think that's one of the best things about sport in general. Um, how's training going anyway, and how excited are you for the big day?
Training has gone well. Obviously, like I said, there's been plenty of highs and lows. There's been days where I thought, I can't do this, I don't want to show up. But every time I've had that thought, I've pushed myself and I've showed up. And that for me has just again showed me that how mentally strong that I am. I actually was knocked back. I had a little bit of COVID, which took me out of my training. So I was a bit gutted. I was thinking, I don't know if I can do this, but I've managed to get myself back into it. I actually did last week the triathlon kind of in reverse, just to get myself a bit comfortable, like doing the three disciplines. And I'm doing a few little practice runs leading up to the main event. But yeah, it's been really good. I'd say my swimming's probably my weakest, but I did only learn to swim 6 months ago. But it's something that I want to keep working at. But I did actually go for a swim last night, and it went really well, and I surprised myself. So again, it's just keep pushing through, keep showing up, consistency, and you do start to see the progress.
Yeah, and not only do you have to learn the different sports, cycling, swimming, running, but also the different transitions and the actual laws of the sport. And how's that side of things been?
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous about those bits because there is a few rules to triathlon. For example, you can't touch your bike until you put your helmet on your head. And I think nerves can sometimes get the better of myself, and I'm sure other people. And I've seen before online, you know, people are running with their helmet on their heads because they've forgotten to take it off. So you just don't know what will happen on the day. And it's also the same with, you know, the weather and the conditions of the sea. We have trained in different conditions, but who knows what will happen in the day. I just think don't put too much pressure on yourself. Enjoy yourself. It'd be great to get, you know, a decent enough time, but at the end of the day, it's not everything. And you know, if you've worked hard and you want to achieve this, then I think getting the job done is all you can do, really.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any goals for the events? Maybe not time wise or anything, but well, might be time wise, but do you have any set goals for yourself or individually?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main goal is to finish the event safe, and actually finish it. But yeah, I do. I guess I have put a little bit of pressure on myself. I am trying to go as quick as I can, really. But again, it's just safety, and completing it for me, and also seeing my friends on the journey complete it too. Like I want to be a really like big support to them, because I think I will probably feel emotional when I see these people that I've trained with over 12 weeks finishing too, because they are also part of my journey. So yeah, I hope everybody finishes safe.
Yeah, definitely. finally, obviously, quite the inspirational story, and from not running or cycling or definitely not swimming until recently. How much would you encourage other people to try a try or to run a race or just simply take part in sport or physical activity?
Yeah, I guess it's just, be mindful of all the benefits. That there is honestly no better feeling than endorphins, and that feeling afterwards, you feel so good mentally, physically. Like we've spoke about today, the people that you meet on the journey. And every time you tell yourself you're going to do something, it builds that confidence, it builds that reassurance of yourself, and you believe in yourself. And yeah, I just think the sport and physical activity that benefits are endless, really. There's why not get involved? And it's such a great time to get involved. There's so many opportunities on this island. Triathlon might not be for everyone, but I guess it's just a great way to try new things. And I know that the three disciplines I will take through the walk of life now. There is some days where I do have back flare ups where I now know that I can go swimming. I've got that confidence and ability to go for a swim rather than maybe, a bit more of an intense workout such as running. Or I do actually really want to start using cycling to actively travel. And yeah, as we said, it's very sociable and just a great way basically to improve your life. It's life changing.
Yeah, definitely. And final question. What's next for you? Is there any mad challenges after this, or is it a bit of a break?
Oh, I feel when you put it on a podcast, you're committed. But I am actually looking at potentially doing a marathon next year. Yeah, that's probably been on the bucket list for a long time too. And I would like to keep the triathlon up. Obviously, I'm starting on, a beginner's distance this year, but I'd like to be able to push myself a bit more. Like, who knows, a bit of a bigger distance next year at Jersey Triathlon. But I think the biggest thing that I say to anyone is you have to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, there generally is just no point in doing it, and you won't stick at it. You won't be consistent. So whatever you do, enjoy it.
Yeah, brilliant, Sharn. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything you'd like to add, or thank you for coming on as well?
I think we've covered quite a lot today, but the biggest thing is just get involved, get out there, get out of your head, don't overthink it, let the ego go, and just see where you end up. Because who knows? I never thought I'd be doing this 3 years ago. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for your time today, Sharn.
Thank you for having me.
Great. That was another episode of Sportscast Jersey. Thank you for watching or listening. Another episode is coming soon.